You really think it's impossible for sex work to exist as a consensual economic activity. This puts you in the same position as some people sort of who are religiously inclined, or people who really regard prostitution as a moral evil. You do think it's a moral evil, but not because sex is involved. It's because you think that every single sex act that's simply paid for is a version of rape. Am I mischaracterizing your position?
I've interviewed a lot of sex trade survivors who've told me that it feels like paid rape, that they're not consenting, they don't want the sex, and they know that the cash is the coercion. It's obviously not a consensual arrangement. But many women wouldn't describe it like that.
Well, hold on. Cash is consensual, right? I mean, surely if you've agreed to provide a service and the other person has agreed to pay money, that is a voluntary contract, right? I mean, that's under the law, certainly. You're saying that no sex worker could possibly do that without violating her integrity as a human?
No. I think that sex buyers violate the inside of a woman's body when they use it as a workplace for one-sided sexual pleasure. And that the terminology sex work, if sex is work, then rape is merely theft. That the inside of a woman's body can't be a workplace because she experiences it as very differently to using your hands or your body for manual labor as we understand it. And my understanding of this comes from the hundreds of women in prostitution that have been in at the time that I've interviewed, that have left. I've spent time in brothels, I've spoken to the Johns, I've spoken to the pimps, and we can't actually sell human beings as merchandise without it having a profound effect upon their sense of self. So rather than looking at the woman and telling her, I don't tell women they've got a false consciousness. I don't ever talk to a woman who's had that direct experience and challenge her reality. What I do is I listen to the Johns and I listen to the women who've exited the sex trade. And I see for my own eyes, for example, when I was in Nevada, I spent a week with Dennis Hoff, who thankfully is dead now, who was just a vicious pimp who I saw demand sex from women in front of a camera crew and take them into rooms to abuse them in his brothels, where he used the women like he was in his own sweet shop. And he gave me permission to interview some of the women that were selling sex, that had moved into this middle of nowhere hell, that one of the women called it a pussy penitentiary, because they're not even allowed out unless they're with an assistant pimp. And I was told by this woman, she was loving her work. It was great. She had orgasms. It was fabulous. She made loads of money. Then she went home and didn't have to work for the rest of the year. And when I was leaving the room, and I could have written that up as it was, she was a happy hooker. And I said to her, look, your room is very, very sparse. In my bedroom, I've got lots of things around that are my personal effects. And this is the room that she prostituted in as well as lived in. And I said, do you not have any of your nice things? And she opened the drawer next to her bed and took out a framed photograph of a beautiful little girl around 8, 9 years old, showed me her, held the frame and said, this is my daughter. But I don't keep it out in my room because I don't want those fucking Johns looking at her or touching her with their spermy fucking hands. And she put the photograph back in the drawer and closed it. And I thanked her for a time and I left. And I thought that told me everything I needed to know. If we talk about choice and about women making a choice, have a look at what other choice that they've got and ask her male counterpart why he's not in that brothel, why he's not spreading his legs to take it up the ass from a John who smells and who may well be additionally violent to him so that he can earn a few dollars. Because he's going to have another choice, even when he's on the last
except
few dollars.
There's very little demand except from gay men for male prostitutes. It's but what you were saying, just to provoke you a little bit, sounds a lot like my Catholic upbringing, which said the human being has integrity as a whole person, and you can't sell part of yourself. That it's the integrity of the human being. You have to, and that sex you cannot simply objectify human bodies and treat them as objects.
Well,
that is
look
the
at, I mean,
core of the sin that I'm just
sure.
I'm trying to get at what you find morally, and I understand exactly what you're saying. From my point of view, like the idea that having sex with someone who wouldn't otherwise want to have sex with me feels a violation. And first of all, it also
Yeah,
feels awful. How could you
you get
possibly
it.
do
You
that?
get it. You get it.